Ted Turner says 95%. Prince Philip says 80%. This is what the big banks want. They want to get rid of people. And they talk about how they're drugging the water supply and want to drug the water supply to sterilize you. And the sperm count's down over 85% in every nation that adds chemicals to the water, not just fluoride. I indict the globalists. I indict the UN. These are not environmentalist, well-meaning wackos that are just wrong. These are lying people that want to hijack the whole economy, have global taxes to the criminal private banks run by people like Ken Lay and Madoff, same crew. They were both, Ken Lay came up with the carbon tax plan with Al Gore. I indict you for genocide. Just your ethanol plan killed an additional 10 million people on top of the normal 15 million from starvation. Under the Copenhagen Global Treaty, double or right at double. Right at double. It's a little under double. The cuts have to be made by the developing and third world that the West has to make. The taxes. This will kill 1 billion people if implemented in the first decade. Those are conservative numbers. The magnitude of this. This is eugenics. This is starvation. This is mass murder. This is death. This is real. This has always been their plan. I have thousands of their documents, hundreds of their textbooks, all the UN documents, the State Department documents, the Club of Rome documents, a total Chinese-style police state murdering your children, forced abortions. It's real. You better wake up. So in the last 25 minutes, I've been covering the New World Order Master Plan, what their plan was, what they've currently set up, the open takeover. There's a headline in the Times of London, the end of freedom on the ocean, UN control over the ocean treaty, a international small arms ban that Obama says he's going to sign, superseding the Second Amendment. That's happening. Congress says they won't pass the UN treaty. They won't ratify it. So Obama says he's just going to implement it by fiat, high treason. And the stated goal of the carbon taxes by the UN and the taxes on all human activity and listing carbon dioxide that humans exhale as a toxic waste is to starve people to death in the third world, shut off industry and business so bad in the United States and Europe and Japan that everyone or almost everyone becomes bankrupt, government-run health care to control your life, to then carry out eugenics, euthanasia, forced abortion, the case for killing Granny, the cover of Newsweek, telling you how great suicide is, and other articles, teaching children they're bad and that suicide is good. That's ABC News. People won't believe me. Pull up ABC News, teaching children when to die. I want them to see that headline, along with the cartoons they show them of animals being killed and say, see, you need to kill yourself. This is so diabolical, so cult-like, so evil. Training humans to turn off their survival instinct, to turn their survival instinct into something of species survival, which is false, to kill ourselves. We have to indict the people publicly for the sickening Malthusian, Hitlerian scum they are. Openly telling us planetary government to carry out one-child policies. Once you're bankrupted in the West, they will then come to an assessment and take your children from you. This is what they've stated. They're now announcing it. 22,000 homes in England now, children at birth. The parents have to put cameras in their homes, guilty until proven innocent for 6 months to prove they're not abusive. The child falls down once. You don't feed them right. They take your children. Cameras in homes, 1984. They are drugging the water supply. That's come out and been declassified. It's not just sewer runoff. In cities like Dallas and others, they've done studies where the Prozac is hundreds of times higher than it could be from runoff. It's being added. Meanwhile, the British, U.S., and Japanese governments, you can pull up MSNBC this year, propose putting statin, anti-cholesterol drugs in the water when they cause all those liver problems, forced medication, and Prozac-type drugs in the water. Well, they're already doing it, as they call for in eco-science, to make you docile. Out of thousands of plastic combinations, 50 years ago, globally, a type of plastic was adopted that leaches powerful estrogen mimickers that sterilize men and make women hyper-hormonal and give them breast cancer. By design, the UN's been caught adding female hormones to tetanus shots that then sterilize women. That's mainstream news. This year, AP reported the UN got caught in Africa, Latin America, Middle East, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia, giving people live, weaponized polio, killing them en masse. Associated Press. Chicago Tribunes, Chicago Water in public reports, city silent over sex hormones and painkillers found in treated drinking water. It's being added in streams and rivers that have no human runoff into them. The plants, the animals are becoming sterilized. The frogs, the fish, the salamanders, it's being added. They've caught water supplies going to humans that have no runoff from sewage, so could not have these drugs. They found it hundreds of times the level it should be. You are being drugged. That's why you feel like garbage. That's why you can't get your energy up. That's why you can't get angry at the New World Order. That's why you've lost your vision. There is no longer any doubt. The public in the past wouldn't go read UN documents, State Department documents, Club of Rome, Council on Foreign Relations, stating they would set up a planetary regime run by private banks. They would tax everything as a form of neo-feudalistic serfdom, shut off your energy, your power, take your children from you, drug your water supply, dumb you down, put cancer viruses and vaccines to kill you, soft kill weapons that take decades to activate, implanting your DNA with the viral RNA. This has all been done by design. And I know it's monstrous. I know it's hard to believe. But if we don't stop them, and if we don't publicly stand up and say, you are a group of murdering killers calling for global Chinese one-child policy, forced abortions, police state, if we don't get aggressive with these people, they're going to come in and push their agenda. Now, the National Post, one of the biggest papers in Canada, that wrote the headline, "The Real Inconvenient Truth, the whole world needs to adopt China's one-child policy. A global government planetary law such as China's one-child policy is the only way to save the planet." That's what this is really about. When real world population is going to plane off, the UN admits, at 8.5 billion or less, the West is having a replacement rate of 1.3 children. For every 2 adults, they're only having 1.3 children. It's all a fraud. If they would just have industrialized the third world, which the Kyoto and Copenhagen agreements are meant to stop, they admit it's meant to freeze their industrial capacity. They have to make double the cuts we do based on the fraud that carbon dioxide's deadly poison. If we would have allowed them to industrialize, their numbers would have dropped, even if you believe the world's overpopulated. That's what's so cold-blooded about this. They keep the people bomb going to hurt these countries because they never get industrialized. They keep them from industrializing and then say, oh, now we just got to sterilize them. So keep them from industrializing and then sterilize them. The West is only having 1.3 children, from Japan to the United States, 1.3 children for every 2 indigenous adults that live there. The U.S. has grown in population because of massive, over 3 million illegals, 1 million illegals a year coming in. That's what's replacing our dying numbers, the death of the West, that Pat Buchanan has written so much about. This is the reality. And they are going to stage terror attacks to set up a bigger police state so you can't politically change what they're doing. They are going to release more and more controlled biological plagues, then put soft kill viruses, RNA in your vaccines. They are just going to continue taking your children from you, bankrupting you through taxes, government-run health care to make you dependent on them. And they are just going to phase this in over the next 25 years, they have stated, until world population starts imploding. And the elites say they're doing this in public writings so they can have control of the future, so they can have control of resources for themselves and their families, and so they can have the life extension technologies for themselves. They do not want to give those life extension technologies to the general public. You can't give people systems that allow them to live to 150 or older, and by then, even past that, because of the way technology will grow. This is what Ray Kurzweil is saying. This is what all the top futurists at the UN are saying. This is what the Pentagon says. This is what Bill Joy, co-owner of Sun Microsystems, has written about in Wired magazine. Intellectuals are all aware of this, but the average well-educated intellectual is told, oh, you're elite, you're smart, you'll be part of this, get on board with the program. They think they're part of it. Even low-level professors are part of this. Newspaper writers everywhere are calling for one-child policies. I'm sure you've seen it on the news, to lower the carbon footprint. This is a revolution, what they call the final revolution of a scientific dictatorship, where a rebellion of the people will be as unthinkable as a rebellion of sheep against the practice of eating mutton or baby sheep. That's a quote from Bertrand Russell. As Aldous Huxley said, whose brother ran the UN eugenics program, Secretary General of UNESCO, Julian Huxley. Aldous Huxley said, the scientific dictatorship will make you love your servitude, love having your bills going up, love having your children taken, love dying of cancer from the inoculations. The government's declassified that they put cancer viruses in over 200 million dosages of the polio vaccine that killed millions. This is on record, Associated Press. In fact, for everybody watching on TV and radio, Google Associated Press, source, AP, polio vaccine killed, polio vaccine live. And you'll see AP this year like it's no big deal. Oh, all over the world, the UN gave people live weaponized polio in vaccines and it killed them. Oh, it was a mistake. No, they've been doing that for 40 years that we know of. Ladies and gentlemen, this is so diabolical.